Remainers plan to turn Labour into a rejoiners party, and we talk about Nigel Farage and IDS when it comes to the knighthood honours. Well, hello freedom fighters. If you're watching for the first time since Christmas, I hope you had an amazing time with your family and friends. Now, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the Labour leadership elections. Now, we thought things are going to get boring after Christmas and the general election, but actually, Labour are preparing to tear themselves apart over this election race. And so in this video, we're going to talk about what's going on with that. As you know, we have a situation where there are a number of obviously candidates running, but the front runners so far are Emily Thornberry, Keir Starmer and Rebecca Long-Bailey, but things are slowly changing because of the way the Remainers are planning to take over the party completely. Now, before we start, I mentioned this in the last video, YouTube somehow, for some reason, the AI system is unsubscribing some people. So every now and then, make sure when you're watching these videos, double check to see if you're subscribed. For some reason, you're getting unsubscribed. They're doing it because they're going after the fake accounts or the inactive accounts, but it affects a lot of other people too. So, and if you haven't subscribed, if you enjoy the content, make sure you click on that subscribe button and the bell next to it. Now, let's begin, because we knew until now Rebecca Long-Bailey, who is a Corbynista, hard left socialist, and Jeremy Corbyn's pet, was the front runner, and then alongside her we had Keir Starmer, but also Emily Thornberry. Now the situation is things are slowly changing because momentum are actually getting weaker for some reason. Now, Keir Starmer on the left is obviously the Shadow Secretary of State for Brexit, and Rebecca Long-Bailey, who's the, obviously, as we said, Corbyn's pet. Both they're from different sides of the party, and they also have Emily Thornberry, who's also a massive Remainer. She's standing on a platform of Remain/Rejoin. Now, Emily Thornberry is also being pushed out, just like Rebecca Long-Bailey, in favour of Keir Starmer. Now, the reason for that is because even momentum, even Corbynistas have always been divided. This is exactly why Jeremy Corbyn has been sitting on the fence for the past couple of years. So there's a situation where the younger members of Momentum are obviously still hard left socialists, but actually their priority is the European Union. They're obsessed with this whole European identity, and they've been pushing Corbyn to be more pro-Remain and second referendum. And then the older members of Momentum are less concerned about the EU. They're more concerned about communism and nationalising everything and taking over the whole industries. So this battle is actually getting interesting because the older ones are losing their battle. The younger ones are there to push for a candidate that's going to be more pro-Remain. Now the question is why they're not going behind Emily Thornberry. Why are they choosing Keir Starmer? Now in this video we're going to talk about that, and that's because of the links with Jeremy Corbyn and the credibility. So we have a situation where Sir Keir Starmer is now appearing to be the front runner in the race to become the next leader, even though until a couple of weeks ago, he was actually considering to pull out, because obviously he has the support of dozens of MPs, but then considering you need 21 to actually make it onto the ballot paper. One soft Labour MP has told the Daily Express that his rival for the pro-EU vote, who is Emily Thornberry, has been attempting to ramp up support for a candidacy over the recent days, but that is just falling on deaf ears. They said Emily Thornberry called and texted several times and she's desperate, and they had to pick up the phone out of politeness, but they're not actually going to back her. Now this goes back to leadership. There's a whole difference between picking a candidate based on being a hard left socialist or a Remainer, but there's also a third problem for the Labour Party, which is leadership. And Keir Starmer is now the on the fence candidate. His policies he accepts. He actually likes the whole Labour policies, the manifesto. He has no problem with the whole hard left economic policies of Jeremy Corbyn. Technically speaking, his problem is not the message, it's the messenger. So he's attracting a lot of the socialists for him. On the other hand, when it comes to the European question, he's not as outlandish as Emily Thornberry. So he's he could also be getting as some support from the more moderate side.
Manifesto, Jeremy is the leader, Jeremy's NEC, Jeremy's plan, called at Jeremy's time. And I can tell you on the doorsteps of Wakefield, they had 2 words, and they're not printable. I can't say them pre-Watershed about what they thought of that strategy.
Did he call you up to say sorry?
I've had no phone calls or messages from anyone in Jeremy or his team, which, given that I was in today, telling my staff that they're going to be redundant a week before Christmas, I think shows that we have in Jeremy a man without honour and without shame, and a type of preening narcissism that means that he thinks he's still got something left to offer the Labour movement and Labour voters who deserted us in their millions.
These are harsh words.
So that's the thing. So Merrick Ray and people like that are going to be potentially backing Keir Starmer for that reason, mainly because of leadership. And we have a situation where people like Stephen Kinnock, who is not he voted Remain, but he's not a Remoaner. He wants to get Brexit done. He would also be backing potentially Keir Starmer over obviously Thornberry because she's very Remain, and Rebecca Long-Bailey because she's very hard left.
Yeah, I think the 3 main problems were weak and incompetent leadership, the decision to back a second referendum, which I think alienated our vote in leave voting areas, and the manifesto frankly became a Christmas wish list. All 3 of those issues are interlinked. You can't really disentangle them because they all, of course, played into the perception of Jeremy as a weak and incompetent leader. But there were many reasons for that.
Now, that's all fair enough, but in reality, Keir Starmer has a different problem because, as we've said previously, the Labour Party are obsessed with finding the next leader to be female and less white, ideally speaking, or culturally white, as they would say, and less middle class. Now, Keir Starmer is white, North London. He's a knight, Sir Keir Starmer, and he's also Shadow Secretary of State for Brexit.
I've said this before, and I said, I don't need somebody else's name tattooed to my head, some past leader, in order to identify and make decisions. I can make them for myself.
Not a Corbynite, not a Blairite.
I don't need someone else's name tattooed on my head to make decisions. I fundamentally believe that the rejection of austerity that Jeremy Corbyn brought around was right, and that is my own decision.
But what about this personal thing? It is personal. The truth is they're saying this without using your name to try and finish you off before you've even declared for the leadership. What they say is, we can't have a man. We can't have someone from North London. We can't have a Remainer. We can't have someone with a knighthood. What they're basically saying is we can't have Keir Starmer.
Now, this is still going to be a problem for Starmer, but in reality, they might actually make that mistake and actually go with him. You think they say that Keir Starmer is the biggest option that they have, and Boris Johnson should panic if he becomes the leader of the Labour Party. I'm not really completely sure about this because we have to see how the whole campaign goes. But at least he's not Emily Thornberry. Now, George Galloway, I've said many times, I disagree with a lot of things that he says in terms of politically, but on the other hand, he is anti-establishment and he's made some good points. This is his point when it comes to Emily Thornberry.
Try his North London neighbour, Lady Nuggie, otherwise known as Emily Thornberry. You know, that mad woman that turned up at the Labour Party conference, bedecked in a blue dress with gold stars around her neck, aping the European Union flag, the woman that took a picture of an England flag in a by-election a couple of years ago and had to resign from the Labour front bench. So sneeringly condescending was her comment and implication, inference about the England flag. She thinks an England flag is something to be ashamed of, and a European Union flag is something to wear around your neck, around your torso. You can choose Lady Nuggie if you like, though she's also a multi-millionaire.
And he's absolutely right. Europe doesn't need another leader who's ashamed of her own country. We already have one, Angela Merkel. I mean, seriously, this sort of behaviour could be coming from the Labour Party if Emily Thornberry becomes leader. Is this really what we want as a potential Prime Minister for a country? And yeah, it's not a good look. Angela Merkel, Emily Thornberry, these sort of people, if you're so ashamed of your own country's flag, and if you're in favour of some sort of fake flag, the European Union, you have to question your own life choices. Now, these people, they know that this is their priority, finding the next leader. But right now, they're way too busy with identity politics, with complaining and crying like children. Now, they are now behind a petition. 130,000 people signed a petition against Iain Duncan Smith, the Conservative MP, for receiving a knighthood. Now, Iain Duncan Smith obviously just received, is going to be receiving a knighthood because of his public services and politics and everything else. He's been an MP for a long time. And there is a whole question, actually, when it comes to knighthood. Obviously, I know that there will be a lot of Brexiteers who would love to see Nigel Farage, for example, receiving a knighthood. He's not getting one this time. But we're not childish. You don't really see any petition going around saying, come on, make Nigel Farage a knighthood. Like, obviously, ideally speaking, Nigel Farage has made a lot of contributions. We wouldn't have had the referendum if it wasn't for him. But we're not really childish in that sense. There are also a lot of questions when it comes to the way they pick these honours. For example, there are some restrictions. David Beckham can never become Sir David Beckham because he's got offshore taxes, that sort of stuff. So you never know when it comes to Nigel Farage. Also, if Nigel Farage privately rejects the honours, obviously, he's already said in the past that he doesn't actually want to become, Sir Nigel Farage publicly. So he might have actually rejected it, or he might have had some issues when it comes to things like that. I mean, not necessarily offshore tax, but something maybe. Or it could just be that the committee just didn't care this time. There's always next time anyway. But the lefties, instead of looking at themselves and try to fix their own problems, they're going around signing petitions against ideas. So imagine what would have happened if Nigel Farage has received it. There would have been an uproar in the streets. So this is the situation we have with the knighthood. But we're gonna be talking about all this quite a lot. As you know, we were having this massive pro-Brexit victory rally on the 15th of January on Wednesday. We're going to have a number of guests with, Talk Radio's Mike Graham, Steve Baker MP, Douglas Carswell, Nigel Evans. We also have a new special guest, Alex Phillips, the Brexit MEP, who's also going to be joining us. We actually tried to get Nigel Farage as well, but it's Strasbourg's week and they're going to be busy with their European Parliament stuff. I don't know why you would bother. We've got 2 weeks to go until we leave the EU, but Nigel is busy. Well, we are going to get Nigel Farage on this channel very soon to actually talk about everything, but we have tried to get him for the party. It hasn't actually happened yet. But make sure you actually book your tickets for that party. I'll put the link in the description. The tickets are actually selling out quite fast. We've sold more than half already. So make sure you book your tickets as soon as possible. It would be good to get together for a few drinks, discuss everything, and see where we stand with the whole Labour Party and Remainers. Now, we are also going to be talking about the European Union in the next couple of days because things are not looking good for Ursula von der Leyen, the EU Commission. And so make sure, if you haven't subscribed, click on that subscribe button and the bell next to it. And if you want to stay up to date with everything, make sure you follow me on social media, Twitter and Instagram, and you could check out the latest on Brexit. And as always, I'm Tousi, and I'll see you guys in the next video.